Hi guys, welcome back or welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be talking about something that really hits close to home. I'm sitting in my bed right now and you guys would laugh if I could just show you how this camera is sitting. It's literally stacked on like 6 pillows high. So if the camera is wobbly, it's because I'm moving and the pillows are moving. So I'm going to try not to. I just didn't want to film somewhere else because I'm being lazy. But anyways, today I'm going to be talking about why I don't breastfeed. So going into it, obviously, I wanted to breastfeed. I wanted to exclusively breastfeed. My job was giving me a 6-month leave. So I was like, that is perfect. I'm going to breastfeed for 6 months. You know, I'm not going to worry about anything else. This is bad on my part. I didn't do any research. I did not go to classes. And that's like for birth as well. Like I just kind of went into it blind a little bit. I was like, how hard could it be? You know, it's you latch and then it happens. Yeah, no. So I thought I was doing amazing. So I gave birth and right away they put the child on your boob and you start breastfeeding, and a lactation consultant will come in later on to check on how your progress is and how everything's doing. So on day 1, I had a lactation consultant come in and I was breastfeeding in that moment too. So it was perfect. She got to see everything. She looked over and she was like, oh my gosh, you must have taken so many classes. You are so good. Like he's latching, I can hear and everything. And I'm like, oh wow, like this is much easier than, you know, I assumed. Like he just got on right away. And then I started noticing after like day 2, I was like, you know, it's supposed to be they're feeding every 2 hours. And I felt like I was going to be feeding every 30 minutes, every so long. And I was like, something just shouldn't be right. And then the lactation consultant never came back. And I was like, okay, well, she said I'm doing everything that I need to be doing and everything should be going well. So I didn't think, you know, it was me or anything. Maybe I just thought, you know, my milk didn't come in yet, which is normal. And maybe that's why he's just more hungry. I don't know. So on day 3, because I was at the hospital for 3 days, I noticed that Rylan had very chapped lips. And I asked the nurse, I was like, is this normal? Why does he have very chapped lips? And she was like, yeah, that's very normal. Sometimes they get blisters from breastfeeding. And I'm like, oh, okay. Again, I don't know. I did not take any classes. I trust a nurse, you know. If something was wrong, the nurse would say something. So they released us and we went home. And that night, we woke up every 2 hours, and it wasn't because he was waking me up, it was because I was waking him up. I had an alarm clock set, so every 2 hours we were waking up and we were feeding. And the next day, mother's instinct, so this is day 4, he's only 4 days old, I was like, something is not right. And I was like, somebody give me a pump. So I was panicking. And I put the pump on and my milk still has not come in, and it's day 4. And now I don't know if this is normal or what was going on, but I mean, I wasn't engorged. I wasn't in pain or anything. So I was like, it just hasn't come in yet. I don't know. But Rylan was very, very crying. And then it got until, I think it was like 5 or 6 at night, and I was like, something is very wrong. I was like, he's very lethargic. He's not really being himself anymore. So I was like, somebody give him the formula, because they send you formula samples, and I kept all of them because I didn't know, it's good to have them. So I gave him a thing of formula, and I mean, he sucked it down. And I was like, okay, he was really hungry, like something is wrong with me. So when he sucked down the formula, that is when I went into full panic mode after, because he started turning like bluish and he was unresponsive, and I was shaking him. And I mean, it just kind of, not like blue to the point like, oh my God, he's suffocating or anything like that. It was just a very like palish color, something that just had me worried, And so we, in that moment, I looked at my mom and I was like, we need to go to the hospital right now. And she was like, are you sure? And I'm like, I think he's dehydrated. I don't think he has drank anything. And now that we just gave him this formula and he drank the whole thing, maybe he could be having a reaction. I don't know. So we rushed to the hospital. Good thing my hospital is only, 8 minutes down the road. And this isn't my hospital. This is just another hospital. So we went there. And it turns out they don't have a pediatric center. So, they should have said that right away when we checked in, but they didn't. And they had us wait in the waiting room for like 15 minutes, and I am bawling my eyes out. I couldn't even hold Rylan because I was mentally, the hormones from just giving birth, and now I'm thinking in my head the worst. And I'm just thinking the worst. I'm like, I just failed as a mother, and my son is dying. Like, my son is dying in my mother's arms in this hospital. And I'm gonna start crying about it. Oh my God. So I knew I was going to start crying because it's very emotional and no one should ever experience that. But anyway, so they admitted us, and while we were admitted, they were like, we're going to run some tests because we don't know what's going on. And I am yelling at the nurse. I'm like, he's dehydrated. Like, give him an IV, give him something, at this point, he's literally just laying on the table, like, lifeless almost. He has a pulse, he has everything, he's hooked up to everything. So my mom kept reassuring me, she's like, they'll know if stuff starts dropping, like, he's okay. You're in the hospital, this is the best place you can be. And again, I'm in my head, I'm like, I just failed as a mom, like, why didn't the hospital check us before we checked out, like the first time? Why is this happening? So since they don't have a pediatrics, they call an ambulance because they're going to transport us, and it's about 15 minutes to go to the other hospital. I didn't go to that one initially because, like I said, this one is closer. So while I was panicking, I just drove to the closest one possible because, again, it's a hospital. They have stuff and they know what to do. So we got into the ambulance. So Rylan had his first ambulance ride at 4 days old. So we got into the ambulance and we went to that new hospital. They checked us in right away. But they, again, didn't know what was wrong with him. And they were like, we want to run a spinal tap on him. We want to do all this crazy stuff. I'm like, he is dehydrated. I'm like, his lips are chapped. He's lethargic. He has an 8. Like, that's how you would be if you have an 8, So finally, they brought a nurse in and she's like, you're going to power pump. And you are going to pump until your milk comes in. And I was like, no. Like, I was like, give my kid formula. Like, I was like, I don't know what I'm giving him. If I can't give him anything, you need to give him formula. And they were so adamant about breastfeeding. But I was like, fine. In the meantime, let's give him formula and I'll make sure my milk comes in. They It was the most painful, exhausting experience. Because get this, I'm 3 days out of the hospital, or I am 1 day out of the hospital, but 3 days in the hospital with no sleep. And now 1 day home, and now the next day I'm back in the hospital. Obviously, I haven't slept. This is just miserable. Like, I can't believe my child is going through this, and they're not giving him formula. So they were in there every 30, 45 minutes, pumping me like a cow. Like, and then finally, after like, I don't even know how long, it was like 5 hours that we were in triage. So we were in a room in triage while they were just holding him and doing more tests. And finally my milk came in, and it was like, you could feel, and I was like, oh my God, this is great, this is great, but I still don't want to breastfeed because I don't know how much he is eating. Anyways, so they were like, we're going to hold him overnight and we're going to run some more tests because we want to make sure that he's okay, because they finally hooked him up to a IV. I think I have a picture and I can post it in the video too. It's so sad. I was bawling my eyes out again because they couldn't find veins, and it was just a terrible experience. But so then once we were in a room, they had the lactation consultant come in, and she was with me 2 days that I spent there. And she would come in every hour, and they switched off when she was off and so on. But they were so pushy, trying to get me to only breastfeed. They were like, we don't really want to go to formula. And I'm like, at this point, my nipples are bleeding. Like, I am so scared to leave and then him not be getting enough milk. Because even when I was pumping, I mean, it wasn't a lot. Like, it was just like, I don't even know. Maybe I was getting like 2 ounces per boob. Like, if that, maybe I'll even get 1 ounce, and then they would just freeze it and stash it. But it wasn't enough. And they were like giving me this like gadget thing, like it was like a hose, and you could put the hose in your nipple and he sucks at the same time. I don't even know. Just crazy stuff. So when we left the hospital, his color was beautiful. His lips were beautiful. Everything looked amazing. But as soon as we got home, I went straight to the supermarket and bought the biggest gallon of formula I could find, because I was like, I am not breastfeeding anymore, and I will be a pumping mom, and I'm just gonna pump so I can see exactly how much he's eating, and that's just the way it's gonna be. So I was a pumping mom. I pumped, and my milk was coming in more. I was eating like, lactation cookies. I was doing all that stuff. But then finally, everything, I just feel like everything does happen for a reason. Because it was easier for me, being a single mom, that other people could help feed. And that was lifted off me, where I could, finally get some rest. I could take a shower. I could do these things that normally someone would have a partner to help with. So my mom could help me in that area. So that, it ended up being better, I guess you could say. Because then I had frozen breast milk too, so we were alternating back and forth. I used Enfamil, I think, in the single and pregnant advice video. I showed the little coupons that I would get, and they were really good. They were like $10 off, and a bottle of formula is like $40 or something like that, so it's very expensive. But you get those coupons like once a month, so definitely subscribe to like Enfamil or Similac or whatever you're gonna use if you're gonna go down that route. But so yeah, that is just my scary story of why I chose to not breastfeed anymore. If I do, and when I do have another child, in the way future, way future, I will take more classes. I will read books. I will be so much more prepared to maybe take on that journey again. But, so I'm not totally, I mean, I think it's a beautiful thing. So people that do breastfeed, I am jealous and I envy you. But whatever, if your child is eating formula, a feeding tube, breast milk, he's eating. So that's just how I feel. Don't shame somebody because they're formula feeding. I never, thank God, ever had an experience where I was shamed. I only felt a little shamed at the hospital when the lactation consultant was kind of like, well, why? That was the only time. After that, everyone was just like, oh, you tried, and that's all that matters. So, yeah, that is my scary story. But yeah, if you guys want to hear more, don't forget to subscribe, and I can tell you guys more stories, or I can post more vlogs or anything like that too. But until then, bye guys.